Hey there, my name is Brandon Howe, and welcome back to my Making a Game series. In the last episode, we made hazards that will fly at the player and destroy them. We also dealt with health, with the player getting destroyed and restarting the level and all that. In this episode, we're going to be making more types of enemies. So, I imagine what we'll be doing with these guys is when we make better art, these will be more of asteroids, I guess, flying towards the player, or debris or whatever. And then we're going to be making enemies that shoot and whatnot. Those are going to be more like spaceships and stuff. So I'll leave these being called hazards, and that's what we'll do. So, for starters, I'm actually going to get rid of all of these guys. Actually, I'm going to duplicate this, move it out, and get rid of this. So we can just focus on our enemy type thing on its own. So, we're going to call this enemy without cap locks on. Alright, so how are we going to go about this? So we're going to be able to use the same move script as before. I'm going to make it move slower so that it'll be able to fire and the shot won't be going too fast to be avoided. So, in order to get this enemy to shoot, we're going to be making a new script that we're going to call enemy shoot. Waiting a few seconds. Alright. Waiting for it to compile. And then open it up when we can in Visual Studios. Alright, so how we're going to go about, or while I'm waiting for this to open, how we're going to go about getting the enemy to shoot is going to be similar to how we got the player to shoot, with some differences. So, over here, close that. So when we got the player to shoot, it was based on when the player presses space, then we fire a shot. With the enemy, it's going to be similar, but how we actually get them to shoot will be a bit different. I'm actually going to open up the player shoot so we can see some of the similarities. In fact, I'm actually just going to start by copying all of this and pasting it here. And then we'll change stuff. So for starters, we are going to have a shot that we're going to get a reference to, but it'll be the enemy shot. I'm thinking how we'll go about this is shot time, instead of being how it was for the player, used to determine if they can shoot, we'll make this also when they can shoot, but as soon as this timer's up and they're able to shoot, they'll just shoot right away. And then we'll randomize this. So for example, making it between like 0.5 and 1.5 seconds, then they'll shoot. So what we'll do instead, we'll get rid of this Boolean can shoot variable, because I'm going to rewrite a bit of this so we won't really need it. So we're going to go shot time, and then a public float, call it variance. So the shot time will be a base time, so like 1 second, and then this variance will be like 0.05 or 0.5, and then we'll randomize this so it'll be shot time minus 0.5 seconds or plus 0.5 seconds. Then that's how we'll go about it. So in the start function, we're going to start the coroutine wait to shoot. Wow. We're going to start the coroutine wait to shoot right away as soon as the enemy exists and is spawned in. And then we will, so in wait to shoot, we're going to rewrite a lot of this. Immediately, it's going to wait for this shot time variable. So we shot time plus, then we're going to go random.range. Random.range. This is how you are able to generate random numbers. Then you'll put a minimum number and a maximum number, in which we're going to go negative variance and positive variance. Ta-da. I suppose you could also put like a min shot time and a max shot time, but I'm going to be going about it this way. So then after that, then we will instantiate the shot at its position with its rotation, and then we're going to parent it under shot parents again for nice handy dandy organization. So now, we won't need any of that in the update function. So now to have this loop, we're going to put it in a while true loop, so it repeats indefinitely. Now normally, repeating indefinitely in code is not something that you want, but with coroutines, it's an exception. If you're having delays, it'll be fine. It's kind of like what we do with the update function. So now, I believe it should be as simple as that. Now, before we can actually get the enemy to shoot, we're going to have to actually make something for them to shoot. So we're going to take the player shot, we're going to duplicate it, call it enemy shot. Whoa. And make it a bit different. So, I'm going to drag it in here, go to materials, we'll need a new color. How about, I'll make the player shot yellow and the enemy shot orange, because why not? So, going to the player shot, opening that up, going to materials, changing it, going down to this part, changing the material to this yellow color. Cool. And then so the player shot is yellow, enemy shot is the orange we had before. Alright, so now we're going to go into this. We're going to rename it to enemy shot. And now we're going to want to change a few things. So, actually, as well, when I deleted the layer there, I have to set this back to default, which shouldn't affect too much, but just making sure things are as they should be. Alright, so yeah, default there. So now, most things will be the same here. Shot move, it'll have a speed of 20, I guess. Shot destroy. And actually, I believe we'll mainly have the player health script determine how the shot collides with the player, so I don't think we actually need to change anything here. Oh, nice. Alright, so I'm just going to apply the small changes that we did make. And now I should be able to go to our enemy over here. And okay, then we're going to add our enemy shoot script to it. Shot time, we'll set it to 2 with a variance of 0.5, I suppose. And then go to here and drag and drop that reference there. So now our enemy should work like that. I'm going to drag and drop it here. So it's going to be an original prefab. It's going to be different than the hazard. And as well, just to make these different while they're cubes, I'm going to make a new material. I said before that the hazard might be like an asteroid or something, so we're going to make it a gray. And I'll change it as such. Alright, and then we'll apply the material to it, and I'm just going to make that a lighter gray just because. Cool. But then the enemy will stay as red, just because. Alright, so now I'm going to take this and duplicate it, move it back a bunch, just so we can get a good idea that it's working as we suspect it is. And I did not move that enemy shot there, which shouldn't have a problem yet. Alright, so starting off, we are not getting what we want to happen. Now, why might that be? Alright, figured it out, and it was something quite simple. On our enemy shot, our shot destroy script, that is, let me open it up. It's set to, like, the way it's destroying itself and other objects is not what we want. So, this is how we want this to run on the player when it collides with a hazard or an enemy. We'll want it to destroy it, and when it's on an enemy, we'll want it to... Actually, we won't really want it to do anything because the player will handle it getting destroyed. So actually, I believe, on the enemy shot, we can just remove it as such. But I will make one change, and that's we'll want to see if, on the player's shot, if it collides with a hazard or an enemy, which in this case they're actually the same. So I'm just going to call this enemy, and then just change the hazard tag, call it enemy anyways, because they may as well have the same tag. There's no instance where a hazard is going to be different than an enemy in terms of whether it can or cannot get destroyed. So I'll make a new tag, call it enemy, and it's basically just a matter of renaming things to be neat. It won't let me remove it because it exists. So now changing that to enemy, and then going over here, removing this, and it doesn't like it. Okay, well, these are all now tagged enemy. These are still tagged hazards. All right, so enemy. That's good. Bam. Simple as that. So now, hopefully, these guys should fly forward and not get destroyed. Yes. All right, and then they're shooting as well. Cool. And the player... Oh, the script on the player's health is then still looking for hazard, so we're going to have to fix that too. It's just a matter of changing this from hazard to enemy. And then I'm also then going to take the enemy shot and give it the tag of enemy as well, because if the... Oh, actually, no. We're going to make a new tag for the enemy shot, because we want, if the player collides with the enemy shot, for it to destroy the player, but we don't want the player to be able to destroy the shot. So now we're going to tag this enemy shot and the child part 2. All right, and then we're going to back to the parent and apply that. Cool. I'm also just going to lower that. So we got our shot and our enemies. So now we're going to want to go and back in the player health if they collide with an enemy, or if they collide with an enemy shot. So we're going to go for other.compare tag enemy shot. And that'll do the same thing there, although with the shoot script, actually, so okay, so yeah, so shot destroyed just if it collides with an enemy, then it'll get destroyed there. And I'm gonna get rid of these, the start and update function there, because we don't need it in this case. I can get rid of it as well over here. Alright, back over here. So that should do that. We got enemies that can shoot now, and the shots can damage the player. Cool. Waiting a second here. So now these guys shoot on random timers as they come in. The player can get destroyed, and the level will restart as normal. Now, it will be difficult to test, but I'm just going to hope that it's working correctly, that the player cannot shoot any of the projectiles that the enemies shoot. Alright, so now that's all taken care of. Next, we're going to make enemies that can turn. So I'm actually going to change this name to enemy shoot, I guess, because it's an enemy that can shoot. Simple as that. Save that, and I'm going to get rid of these. And actually, I'm just going to delete these other hazards except one. And I'm going to rename this. Actually, I'm going to rename this to enemies and put that under there. Enemies and hazards. If we make multiple types of hazards, which I'm not sure what we might do with that. I mean, we could make, I don't know, there's potential things that we can make, then I'll make different categories for hazards and enemies. But since we just have one type of hazards, I'm just going to group it with anything enemy related, just because they're basically the same. So, also going to rename this down here. So, enemy dash shoot. Alright, cool. So now we're going to make enemies that can turn. So, first we're going to start off with that by duplicating our enemy shoot and getting rid of turning the other one off. And we'll rename this right away to enemy turn. Alright, so I guess I'll recolor this as well. Just to for now, we just have cubes, everything having unique colors just so it's easy to tell what's what. I'll make this, it's going to be an enemy spaceship, I'll make it like purple, and then I'll make the one that can do both green. That's alien-y, right? Alright, so purple, I suppose. Bam. Alright, so now, since this enemy will not be able to shoot, we are going to get rid of its enemy shoot script, and then we're also going to right away make it its own prefab so I don't accidentally like save over the enemy shoot. So now, to make it turn, once again, we're going to make a new script, C# script, enemy turn. Alright, wait for that to compile and then open it. And now we're going to want to make sure that this is able to work hand in hand with the normal enemy forward movement script. So how we're going to be doing this is basically as the enemy moves in, we want it slowly to move side to side as it's coming. It's kind of like an S pattern. So we've already got the forward movement taken care of. We're basically going to want to then add forces going this way, and then slowly add forces going that way, and slowly go back and forth. And I suppose as well we could vary the amount of force that goes this way and the amount of force that goes this way, so that an enemy could like come in on the diagonal sideways thing, perhaps. That could be something we could do. But first, we got to get the normal movement in. So how we're going to do this is, once again, we're going to need to get a reference to the rigid body component. Rigid body, RB. And then we're going to get a reference to that. Get component, rigid body. Bam. Alright. So now we're going to need variables for, we need floats for, just thinking about how there's multiple ways of how we could go about doing this. I'm also just going to change this to fix update before I forget. So we can make a float for the left movement, left move, and public float, right move, and then I'm going to make there be a, I'll make a Boolean, private Boolean for which direction they are currently moving in, and then we'll swap that every few seconds. So private Boolean deer, and we'll make that start being 1. 1 will represent this way, left will represent that way, or -1 will represent that way. Alright, sorry. Actually, no, just a, Actually, no, yeah, I'm gonna make that an int. I was sort of combining two ways of how I might go about it. I'll make it an int, because then we'll multiply the way that it's moving by this direction. And then we're gonna want a time variable for how long for when it switches directions. So public float change deer time. It's okay if your names are long as they make sense, as opposed to just LM, RM, CDT. You could do that as well with like acronyms if you wanted to keep things nice and tidy. I kind of do that with RB. But this is more descriptive, especially if you're working with multiple people and you're not commenting like I am. If you're working with multiple people, it's a good idea to comment your code. It's important and all of that, I guess. Yeah, so fixed update. We're going to... Okay, we're going to go rigidbody.addForce. So transform dot right multiplied by that deer variable multiplied by right. We're going to want to know which direction we're moving in. So if actually if I'm going to do that, I may as well make this a Boolean anyway. All right. So deer right. So it's going to be whether or not we're moving right. If it's true, we're moving right. If it's left, false, we're moving left. I guess I'll start it off being true. It shouldn't really matter, probably, hopefully. So direction right equals true. So if dir right, then it's gonna go like, whoa, like this. So if the direction is right, then rigid body.add force, transform.right, multiplied by, we'll make this positive one. I don't know if it's going to be left or right, like which direction is going to be which, I'm just going to guess. So transform.right, multiplied by the right move. That should be that. And then if, or else, then rigid, same thing, except we're going to make it in the opposite direction. So negative transform dot right times left move. All right, so now that should move the player both directions, but now we're going to want to do something that'll actually switch this direction based on some sort of variable, or based on the time that we've set. So we're going to, with that, we're going to make another coroutine. And that's going to be wait to switch. All right, and then in that, we're going to, and I'm going to call that right away with this, in the start function, called start coroutine, wait to switch. All right, so now we're going to also, oh, it doesn't return anything, that's because we're not done with it yet. So we're going to put this in a while loop as well, because we're going to have this repeat indefinitely. So while true, then, all right, so we're going to wait for this change direction time, yield, return new wait for seconds, and that's going to be the change dir time, and then we're going to set dir right equals, now I believe if we go, I think we go dir right equals negative dir right, that should make it opposite? No, no, okay, there's something like that, I'm just forgetting it, so I'm just going to say dir right equals false, and then going to wait that time again, and then set it equals to true. Bam. Alright, then it should repeat indefinitely. Yeah, so that should be it for that. Going back to Unity, and waiting a few seconds, and then we're going to apply the script to our new enemy turn. Alright, I have no clue what values to set to start off. We'll match these, actually I'll go 30, and we'll make it the same to start off, and then change dir time will be, it'll turn every 1.5 seconds. All these numbers I'm just making up on the fly, and then just testing to see if they work, and then if they don't, then changing them. So now, it kind of works. Yeah, alright, so it's also, I guess, something to note, is that it's not going to, wherever it starts, it's going to go like this way, and then back. I was kind of hoping, wherever it starts, this will be like its center point, and it'll go around in like an S pattern like that. It's also very diagonally. I was hoping by applying force that wouldn't be the case, but it looks like if we were going to want to have it shallow out, that we're going to have to do that manually. Alright, so thinking about it, how we're going to go about this instead, we're going to be changing some things, but that's alright. Sometimes it's what you got to do as a programmer. So instead of running all this based on a coroutine and then just switching it, we're going to make a new, we're going to make a float that's going to basically be how much force is being applied in a direction, and then we're going to slowly change this over time for being like -1 to 1. Yeah, and that's how we'll go about it. So I'm actually going to change this to direction, and we're just going to start off equaling 1, and then I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to get rid of all of this. Yeah, so instead, we are going to, I'm going to get rid of most of this, all the if statements. We're still going to, at the end of this, be, we're going to multiply, so transform.right multiplied by this direction, multiplied by We're gonna need. Dang it, we're still gonna need an if statement based on which of these two speeds we're applying. So yeah, all right. So instead, it's gonna be if this deer is greater than 1, then it'll move right, and if it's less than 1, then it'll go left. But it's still gonna multiply. Actually, then that could still... Well, I still want to multiply it by deer because it'll fluctuate between 0 and 1. And if I'm multiplying it by deer when it goes into the negatives, we won't need that. So now we're going to want to do something, and getting rid of that as well. Now we're going to want to do something that fluctuates this direction between 1 and -1 over a time period. And we're going to do that with something called the lerp function, or linear interpolation. Yeah. So with each frame... if so if okay, yeah. If all right, so we're gonna want to go. So the direction equals new, or I'm used to doing this with vectors. This is slightly different. I'm just doing it with a float. So mathf dot lerp from deer, like from its current value to an if statement of whether it's going to be from 1 to -1. So if we're going to need something else to know which one that we're going towards. So if all right, okay, we're going to need another Boolean. We're gonna have to bring that back for bool. This is gonna be deer, and this is going to be deer multiplier. So that's one. I'm just gonna copy these in here. All right. So this is going to and there as well. So if deer is true. And actually, I guess we're going to start it off being true, equal to true. Then, yeah, so if deer is true, then it's going to go between, then it's going to be going towards -1 at, then we're going to want a speed, like a smoothing value. Since we don't need this change deer time anymore, we're going to have speed, or actually, yeah, we're going to call it smoothing. And then that's going to be in here. Smoothing. We're also going to multiply it by something called time dot delta time. This is the time between the last frame and this frame. Doing this will basically make it so that if we pause the game, this will freeze. It won't keep going. How we're going to do that later. So for now, then semicolon there. Then else. Then same thing, but going towards +1. And then we're also going to need something that then changes this deer value. So then after we do that, then if deer multiplier, we don't want to just say if it equals 1 or equals -1, because with the way that lerp works, it's a bad idea to compare floats directly, just because with very, very small decimal places that can get messy and sometimes not work how you want it to. So instead we're going to say if deer multiplier -1 is less than 0.1, so 0.01f. So it's like, if it's close enough, then deer equals false. Else if actually if so okay, if deer is true, it's moving towards okay, so deer is true, so it's moving towards -1, and then deer minus -1. So yeah, deer multiplier minus -1, which is going to be the same as +1, is less than 0.01f. Then it's going to equal false. And so if deer and and then else if, then the opposite, dir is false, and dir multiplier minus 1 is less than 0.01f, then dir will be equal to true. Alright, so now hopefully this should work the way that I'm hoping that it will. So now these will change a bit. Left move and right move are still the same. Change dir time, I'm going to flip around once it loads in. Smoothing, I'm going to make that 10. Which should work good as a value for now. So now please work. It's kind of doing something there. Alright, I'm going to lower this, increase that. Or wait, 10. Time of the time is usually 0.2. Multiplying by that smoothing will be 0.5. And smoothing, it has to be a value between 0 and 1, or it gets clamped between those values. So let me go out of this. I'll move the game down here for a second, just to see, is this actually turning very slowly? It appears it is not. So I'm going to want to test how close that's getting. It might be that this might be too small of a number to test with. I'm also going to print dir multiplier, just so I can get an idea of what it's actually, how it's changing. Wait for that to change. So now over in the console, I'm going to be ignoring the game part entirely. So it's moving towards -1. What is it doing? That's peculiar. Oh, I wonder. Oh, wait. Shoot, I said if it's less than. If it's less than that, if this is coming out as like a negative number. Okay, so. So it seems to be going from 0.9 down to like 0.7, going back up to 0.9. It's only fluctuating between those values, so it's kind of just turning really quickly. So it might be actually just flip-flopping almost every other frame. So here this should be lerping to -1. I wonder if... I just want to see then if these are running, so I'm just going to paste this in here and have it just print gook and just see if these are actually returning true, or they might be flipped around. So now going out of play mode and then going back into play mode, that we'll be able to see that. So okay, so it's flipping to this one, and then in one frame it's flipping to the other. So this is returning true immediately, which is not what we want. So if the direction is false and the multiplier, so if I want it to be lerping towards 1 and the multiplier -1, so it's 0. Oh, but while it's still at -1, I'm going to want to say if it's greater than -0.1, because I want it to be going up, increasing. So now that should... I also just realized I didn't really need to go about these calculations the way that I did. Oh, something happened. Oh, I think maybe the enemy, player maybe died or something. I can actually just go if this is, so if this multiplier is, so this is when it's going to -1, if it's less than negative 0.9f, bam, or if it's greater than 0.9, that'd be the smarter way of going about that. 0.9f. I'm also going to lower that smoothing value because it's fluctuating too quickly, I think. So now going back over here, it's enemy turn. Smoothing, I'm going to lower that down to 6, I suppose. And I actually didn't even get to see if it was actually working properly. Let's have a look. Oh, we got it. It's working, but very slowly. Or it's not. I'm going to want to lower this even further. 2. Yeah. Haha! And player, move it out of the way. Bam! Alright, so we got enemies that move back and forth. And now, grand finale test, we're going to test if these work. I'm going to set that to something really high and this to something really low. And I'm going to make that one just have it be even wider of a shift. So now, this game area, which I'm also going to bring back up here. So it's moving in there, and then a little bit that way. Okay, actually I should still go back to the scene view so I can have a greater idea of what's actually going on. I'm actually going to put that back up to 2 just so it switches over, so it switches direction faster. Alright, so now, moves far that way, moves a little bit that way, and then... Okay, so... It's not continuously moving that way, it's moving a bit that way and then far that way. So all changing these values do is really fluctuate its starting point. So we're going to want to change that as well. Alright, there's me being... I missed something slightly. Basically, this was greater than 1, it should be greater than 0. I just mistyped that. And then all seems to work as we want it to. So move a little bit that way, and a lot that way, a little bit that way. Now these are exaggerated values, I guess. We could do more tweaking to make sure it zigzags enough while it's in view of the screen, and then increase that to make sure it switches direction faster. But these are just extremes for now. So now, we finally got that working. Although for now, I'm probably just going to make these the same anyway. It's probably only going to be like a special case where we really make them different. So, a lot of work for not that much, but we got variety now. So, that's all good. So, finally we got that done. Now, we're going to combine them. We're going to make an enemy that can turn and shoot. I'm also going to move that back up here. Oh, as well, I'm just going to get rid of these temporary, that temporary print statement I put in. That can be a good way of debugging, just seeing what values are as you're going through your game, and see if they are what you expect them to be. And a lot of times if things aren't working right, then it might be something not working like you expected. So now we're going to combine this enemy turn script, and I'm going to go to my prefabs, and we're going to make this enemy turn and shoot. And we're going to make it its own prefab. Boom. And then we're going to also, I'm going to disable this one. We're going to make a new color. Green, because why not? Actually, if we have a shield power-up thing, that might be green, so maybe like this cyan color, I suppose. So the colors don't really matter right now. It's just a matter of temporariness. Eventually, I might run out of all the basic colors, but hopefully by then we'll actually be making better models. So now, this should hopefully, if things work correctly, not require any additional coding. We should be able to just add enemy shoot script, and then shot time 2 seconds, and then variance of 0.25, and then finding the shot variable. As well, we can easily make different types of shots if we wanted to, and then just make different enemies that shoot different objects based on that. If you make a bomb or like a boomerang or stuff like that. You can also do the same to the player if you wanted to. So now, please work. Aha! So now it's coming in, it's turning and shooting, which is what we wanted. So now, combining all these enemy types, we can... Actually, I'm also just going to disable the player for a minute so we can't die. So you can now combine all these enemy types by just duplicating them around and have a whole smorgasbord of stuff coming at you. And all of our enemy types seem to be working as we want them to. Now, one thing I do notice is that because the enemies start really far back and that they're shooting, their shots are getting in and then they're despawning in the middle of the play area. But I think that's something that we'll work on in the next episode. I'm thinking we could set up like a barrier here so they can't shoot right away. Like a barrier right before they enter the game area that then enables their ability to shoot. But we'll worry about that next time. So that'll be it for this episode. Next time we will do that. As well, I'm thinking we might have to start to make a score system so that in the top corner there'll be a score that will increment as you shoot enemies, and yeah, and then we can make different enemies worth different amounts of points, and that sort of thing. So, that's it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye!